Okay, well, we're going to get started. And yes, we have a fun little plot twist today. Um, so, welcome to Power Playbooks. Twice a month, the second and fourth Wednesday, we bring you playbooks from industry leaders that are so generous with their time and talent and share exactly what they're doing in their business. And it's normally Via and my kind of gig. We sort of co-host or sort of whatever the two, I was going to say Mutt and Jeff, but that's not the right one. Whatever a great duo is, we're the duo that interviews amazing agents. Well, this time our plot twist is one of our interviewers, Via, becomes the interviewee. I'm going to take on hosting because Via is one of our panelists today, along with the lovely Tamara Lamore. So these guys need no introduction, but just to introduce them briefly, Tamara Lamore is with BKT Northwest, and she has a team in Seattle, Everett, Spokane, and other surrounding areas. She's going to talk about her arc from about 16 agents to currently 31, because today, all day, we're talking about recruiting. And we've got Vija Williams from the Seattle area with Via Real Estate, and you know her as what we call fondly Vopra, the interviewer with the mostest, the hostess with the mostest. She has also been on an amazing growth trajectory with agents. She had 2 agents when she was building out her team, and she went in a very short time from 2 agents to 19. And that's of actually this moment. I mean, if I probably ping her a little bit later, she'll be like, Sarita, we now have 20. So she is on a growth trajectory. I'm super excited because, yeah, these women are amazing in real estate, in production. They know their stuff. They've been doing it a while, but they both sort of woke up and said, I need to grow, and I need to grow my business through agent growth. And they have been focused. Yes, Via.
Really quickly, before we get into that intro, everybody, can you do me a favor and get on chat and say happy birthday to Sarita?
We didn't rehearse that. I
We
didn't.
did not rehearse that.
Leo,
It's
but I didn't
birthday.
fish for it.
And she's doing a webinar. God bless her. Do we love her for that?
Thank you guys. Grateful for everything.
Okay, sorry. I didn't want to rudely interrupt.
No, people asked me this morning, they're like, how do you feel? It's your birthday. I'm like, are you kidding? Birthdays are the best. So super excited to have another one. So
Okay.
thank you, everyone.
I feel better.
And with that, we'll get back into our flow. We are here to talk about our team growth, but we can't really appreciate our kind of point B where we're at if we don't go back to point A and where we started. So I'm going to start with both of you. Let's start with you first, Via. What did your team look like 12 months ago? And so like walk us back so that everyone who's on this call wants to grow and is already kind of intimidated that you have 19 and 31 people. You didn't always have 19 and 31 people, both of you. So take me back about 12 months ago and tell me what your team looked like, Via.
My team looked like we had 2 people. We have my brother and I who own the team, and I have a full-time job with Place. So my team is a side hustle, and my brother kind of runs more the day-to-day of it. And we had 2 agents. And not a surprise, we didn't sell a lot of houses last year. What a shocker. And I sat down with my brother towards the end of it was like last fall, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? And for those of you watching, a lot of the times we interview teams with this company called Place, and I work at Place, and our team is with Place, and we place partners with teams to help them grow and become more profitable and scale. So I sat with my brother and I'm like, we just kind of need to make a decision. Like, what are we going to do here? And we were both like, well, we want to grow. Like we want to fulfill our business plan, and our goals and all the things we set out for. And the very first domino in there was recruiting. And, it's scary because you're like, I've got PTSD. Like I've done this before. Do I really want to do this again? How confident am I in my value proposition? But I'm both recruiting to and then delivering, on the back end. Like, how do I feel about that? And all these things happen. And what I proposed to my brother was what I talk about a lot is I said, why don't we recruit in a cadence? He said, what do you mean? I said, instead of saying we're going to have 25 agents by the end of next year, which we do want, and that was our goal, and that's not an arbitrary number. There was a reason for that. We built out a good pro forma, with that. But I was like, that feels really overwhelming and intimidating, and it would break us. Like if we just brought 24 agents next month, we wouldn't be ready for it. But what if we change the way we talk and we say, let's recruit 2 to 3 a month? Because we can
Break your big goal into baby steps. Yep.
It was like, we can handle 2 or 3, yeah, we can. And then the next month there's another 2 or 3. We've got place launch. We've got all the stuff that we have. And that is really what we've done until recently. We're bringing on 5 this month, which is unusual for us, but we're on a little bit of a challenge, place-wide challenge on that, that we will win, everybody. No, I'm kidding.
The gauntlet.
But no, that's really what happened. We just, to fulfill our business plan and our goals and to do all the things we want to do, we both knew it was either agent growth or phase the team out, honestly.
You were at that crossroad, right? And to avoid the overwhelm that was going to happen with the big goal, you broke it down into pieces, very similar to the 12-week year, right? It's just like, you can have these big goals, but if you run them in sprints and manageable pieces, then it all adds up. Tamara, let me ask you the same question. Take me back 12 months ago. Where were you at? And just like Via sort of had a trigger point, like I got to grow this team or I have to actually close up shop because we're not functioning as a team. And we either need to acknowledge we are one or we need to do something different. Tell me what it was like, and did you have any kind of trigger point that said, okay, growth is the answer?
If I think about a trigger point, I think I just have to be real and tell you, I'm 53, I'm going to be 54. So I honestly think that was kind of my trigger point of, okay, what am I doing here? I had a solid team 12 months ago. I have several agents that have been with me for a long time. My top agent's been with me for 11 years. I have another gal who's in her 9th year with me. I have several that are 5, 6 years, 3 years. Part of my overall thinking of like where I'm at with my career, when I first, and I think Via knows this story, when I first met Ben, the very first time I ever met Ben, who's my partner now, for those who don't know, I think everybody knows, but we had a big long meeting for 3 hours about plans of what this all was going to look like. And it came down to, we were at PF Chang's. He literally on a napkin drew 2 circles and he said, that's my job. And when I looked at it, the outer circle, he said, was his job. And I was the inner circle. And his only thing that he needed to focus on was how big he needed to grow his outer circle that could give me the ability to grow my circle as big as I wanted to grow. And so the reason why I say that is that was probably part of my trigger point about a year ago. I was like, what am I creating for my people that I can have my circle grow big so they can grow big? So you had mentioned, I've got my main location is in Everett. I do have a team I'm growing in North Seattle. I have a team over in Spokane. I never planned on having a team in Spokane, but I've got the who there. So she wants to grow a team there. And so I just had this point about a year ago that if I am going to fulfill my circle for my people, I need to grow and I need to scale and I need to make a big enough team that they have room to grow and lead those different areas with me.
I love that. So like if you were at PF Chang's, right, with them, you would be drawing the same napkin that Ben drew for you, right? How do you create a big enough world so that your people are limitless in terms of opportunity? And, I swear, again, we actually normally do pre-meetings and stuff. We actually did not get together because we've known each other for so long, all of us, but you're speaking to me. I mean, as we mentioned, it's my birthday today, but the numbers you said, my team members, 11 years, 9 years, 5 years, 3 years, like you get really comfortable when you start telling yourself stories that, well, my culture is so great that if I bring more people, is it going to like tip the apple cart in any way? And we're a family, and you start justifying where you're at because it's easy, but growth can be, messy and a little painful. But if you're later in your career and you're looking at exit strategies, and for me, it's location-based independence. I'm always going to work, but I like to work from wherever I am. Then I've got to have the right people in the right spots, and you have to know that a year, 2 years, 5 years before you want to do it, so you can build it out, right? So specifically for you, Tamara, a year ago, were you at the 16 agents then, and you sort of just had this revelation that I have to grow?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we know what's kind of driving the growth. Let's talk about how you started doing it. What were the sort of mental changes you made, as well as like actually recruiting? What did you do first to get agents into your pipeline? And because there's this thing, right? If I go get people, what am I going to say? Is my value proposition tight? And when I get them, what am I going to do with them in terms of onboarding? There's all these problems, or let's call them opportunities, and they all somewhat compete with each other, and they can cause you to get paralyzed. So what did you do first?
And mine was the system behind it. If I have a focus on, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to recruit X number of agents, I will go and I will do that. But what I found were it was more natural to do that, meaning I didn't have a system behind it. So as soon as it would start to, grow or get big, I needed to slow down and create a system. So that was the first thing. I literally just sat down and brain dumped and thought, okay, what do I do in every part of the process? Where am I going to focus on to get in relationships, which I already was. There was just no rhyme or reason to it. So sometimes I would do masterminds. Sometimes it would be through connections through my agent. Sometimes it would be through Brivity Recruiter, the tech system. I literally sat down and just wrote step by step, what does that look like for me? And I created a system around it for each step.
So for those of you who are watching who don't have a team or are thinking of starting one, it's very similar to being a real estate agent, stopping for a second and saying, where am I getting my business? What are all the pillars on how I get sellers and buyers? And, whether it's your database, whether it's events, whether it's prospecting, whether it's open houses, having these pillars, right? And having a system around or playbook around each one, you did the same thing, but on the recruiting side, right? Where am I finding agents? What are the pillars? Can you get specific on what some of those sources were? Because one of the questions in chat is like, where do you find people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I drew a circle. It's like a pie. And the first thing I did is I thought about my existing agents. Where did I meet each one of them? And then I wrote down a piece of the pie. So I'll just read off some of the ones that I have on my business plan.
That'd be great.
So career information sessions, we do 2 a month, 1 live, 1 on Zoom. Social media, team agents, so my agents are in relationship with other agents. We have agents on our team that I met through my agents. So that was one of the pieces. I do own a real estate school in Washington State. So that's another way. And for anybody in Washington State, you can take advantage of that as well. Broker metrics. I've used broker metrics before, co-oping agents. So that was a piece I really started applying this past year, is building the strong relationships with co-oping agents, people that already know us, that already know our processes. Mastermind events. I do a mastermind event every month. And then Brivity Recruiter, which is our tech system, ads,
Perfect.
running ads and things like that. So those are the main ones.
Those of you that are watching, right, we should be nodding our head. Tamara has a plan, and it's very specific, and it's multifaceted. She's not putting all of her eggs in one basket. She's looking at it, but like, let's use co-op agents as an example. Just for me, like if I have a great agent experience with someone, I might be like, oh, I should have coffee with them. She takes it to the next level of having it systematized, making sure every co-op agent, it's not just when you remember, right? There's a process, not only for her agent, for her transactions, but everyone on her team, to make that a deliberate kind of lead source that's generating leads, if you will, or a talent pipeline. So I actually purposely left Recruiter AI to Via. Via, where are you getting your people? And if you are using tech, I would love you to zoom in on that piece for our audience to understand better. Thank you, Tamara, by the way. And Via, why don't you answer the same question? Where are you finding your people?
Yeah, I will. And I think it's interesting. That's not what I did first.
Okay.
So,
Great.
so what I did first, and I don't know if this is going to help anybody, is I felt pretty comfortable recruiting new and unlicensed agents. That was pretty easy. First thing I did is I sat down with my partner, my brother, and our EA, and we spent a good couple weeks going through our value proposition to experienced agents. And so we took the three primary ways that an experienced agent gets business, which is Sphere, Open House, and then in our lead gen model, this is how often I use this. It's literally open on my, we have a lead gen wheel. And then, some kind of prospecting networking, I find is the third. And we spent a ton of time making sure that we were both delivering that and the focusing question I kept asking them. It was actually probably a month or two. I mean, I was hounding him. I was like, can we say that an experienced agent, by coming to our team, is going to sell twice the amount of homes that they're selling on their own from their database, from an open house, and from any prospecting they're doing? And until the answer is yes, I don't think we're ready to put on the gas with experienced agents. With new agents, we're ready. And so I drove them a little crazy, but we went through and really made sure that we both understood how we were going to double the agent's business, on their self-generating side, and how to communicate that. And we hardly talk about the team lead side. And we really do focus on, my goal is it's worth it to come on our team just from their self-gen side alone. And by the way, side note, we will match that on the team side, so it's really worth it. But I just wanted to kind of share that was a massive paradigm shift for me, where I had that confidence and the understanding, really specific understanding of, this is how, Sarita, if I'm recruiting you and you're selling 10 homes, a year, I want to show you how just by coming on the team, you're going to sell 20 homes a year from those same sources because of all that we do for your database, all the training and the tech that we have behind open houses and whatnot. Then when you add on your team leads, it makes your conversion extraordinarily high. It makes the agents feel like it's predictable, and you're kind of removing sales skepticism because you're showing them where it's going to come from and why. So I wanted to kind of add that, because that was a really big moment for me, right? To kind of get to that.
No, it sounds like you spent 2 weeks on it, and
I think we spent a couple months on it, honestly.
And I'm sure it helps you with confidence with regards to your value proposition to a seasoned agent, but it makes so much sense, right? Like if I'm an agent and I'm selling X on my own, and I'm going to join a team, and I'm going to give up some of my revenue to the team, I'm going to get a lot more from what I'm giving up, but I don't want to go backwards. Yeah. And this idea that, hey, just out of the gate, if you can't double what you're doing, we don't want you to join us because you're probably better off on your own.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least, certain
depending on your reasons, of course.
So we did that. So I would say, I need to look at our numbers. Out of the, 18 or so we've recruited, maybe 5 or 6 of them are experienced, which is really new for us. Like in the past iterations of my team, that would have been all new. So we immediately went into Recruiter AI. We leaned into Recruiter AI. And I've got a bunch of numbers if you're interested in it. But we just started posting ads, experimenting, doing some, A/B split tests. So like we would be like, all right, we're going to post a showing agent ad, a new construction site agent ad, an experienced agent ad, are you interested in real estate ad, and start seeing what's performing. We use the AI, we lean into the AI, we refresh our ads a lot. And so we have been doing that since a little before November of 2023. So I pulled up my numbers. So we have spent $6,000 total on ad boostings. We've received how many applications? We've received, so out of the 230 applications. So about $6,000, about 230 applications, which works out to be about $26 per application. We then had 242 dials, 69 contacts, 38 first appointments, 28 second appointments, 10 gross recruits from Recruiter AI, 8 gross recruits from other sources. And my other sources were super similar to Tam's. Brokerage leadership handing us candidates, Paul and I's sphere of influence, people that we've known and have done business with in the past. No co-brokers, actually. So these are just people that we kind of knew in the marketplace. As we started getting more leads in certain areas, we would do some reach outs, and the conversations might be like, hey, Sarita, I know you're in Hillsborough. Where our lead flow is increasing in Hillsborough, wondering, if you'd be open to sitting down together and kind of looking for some opportunities we have on our team. So we would kind of strategically try to match that. And so we hired, so out of the 18, 10 came from Recruiter AI, 8 came from other sources. So if you take that 6,000, it's about 600 a hire, based on all of the job boosting and whatnot. I think I love Recruiter AI, and I should probably preface this by saying I've been a professional recruiter since 2018, and I've never used software like this, because what happens is we have these 3 buckets, and this is how we view the world with recruiting. We have unlicensed agents who are considering a career in real estate. Career nights are great. Funnel for them, just having career nights, group meetings. And then we have these newly licensed agents who, they have their license, and maybe they even sold a home, but usually it's 0 homes. I mean, they're just kind of waiting to start their career. And then we have experienced agents, right? We have these 3 buckets. So what Recruiter does is it attaches one of 3 auto plans. And so, immediately these guys are getting auto plans, they're getting, they're getting speed to lead type activity, and they're getting constant communication that we're funneling them into things like we do some Wealth Wednesdays sometimes that they'll get invited to. We've had recruits come to that. Part of our process is they come to our team meetings. And so it's all done by AI. It's just incredible. It's really a miracle is what it is.
Yeah, of those 3, do you have an avatar for who your ideal agent is? Or you're like, hey, bring it. We work with all 3 categories, and sure, we want more experienced agents, but we don't kind of care where they're at in their journey. We want to just take them where they're at and move them forward. Is there like that perfect persona that you're looking for in terms of an ideal agent?
I think that gets into another question, and I think Tam's really good at that one too. I really like her. I think Tamara's really got a good, cohesive, clear thoughts on who she's looking for. For us, I will answer it this way. I think that there's 2 types of team systems that you can recruit to, right? You can have what I would call a front-end filtering system or a back-end filtering system. And what I mean by that is a front-end filtering system is when you spend a lot of time on the hiring process, a lot. You're doing behavioral profiles, you're doing numerous meetings, there are, maybe group interviews, and so you're doing so much filtering that by the time you hire them, the goal and the hope is that, they're the one that they're going to stay. And on the flip side, you do a little bit of light filtering, and then you put the pressure on your agent launch or your onboarding to filter them out on the back end. Does that make sense? I mean,
It does.
and the beauty of
Do you
play.
screen them before they join or after,
Well,
essentially
we
is
do
what you're
screen them. We have a process. We can go
Yes.
through. Tamara and I have
No.
similar processes. I
No.
think we can go through our processes, but the beauty of Place is that it allows us to have this really beautiful back-end filter system. So, we screen them for, we can talk about that in a minute, like what we screen them for. And so I can know that, for who we probably had 4 agents leave. So we probably gross recruited, I would think we've gross recruited, I have to check, 22 agents probably. No, I guess this is 18.
Yeah.
There's a lag here because we're bringing in 5 this month. So these
No, I
numbers,
think I totally get what you're saying. In fact, what I want to
But
just
yeah.
do, I want to pivot to Tamara here in a minute, but what I want to remind everyone is whether you use a team platform like Place with regards to
Yeah.
onboarding and systems, and even Recruiter AI, they're talking about their essentially recruiting CRM by name. But if you don't have, let's say, Recruiter AI or Brivity, you can use any CRM. The concept is, again, the one thing I love about recruiting is you can relate it to everything we do in our current business with buyers and sellers,
yeah,
right?
you can use Wise
Touch
Hire.
programs. You have touch programs for past clients, for internet leads, for cold calls, for people you meet at open houses, and you're going to touch them differently based on how warm of a relationship you already have with them. And so I would like to ask kind of Tamara the same question. Do you have a kind of persona that you kind of go after, or, just tell us a little bit about, of course, like if in a perfect world, you want to find a team that does $10 million that's tired of real estate and wants to join you, right? But how do you actually kind of look at the agent profile and meet them where they are? And is there an ideal?
I actually told Via, she threw this back to me because I told Via, I said, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this. I
Yes,
really
you are.
I guess you are. You actually gave me a quote. I wrote it down. You like people who you like. What did you say? You like people who people like you. What is that quote again, Via?
We were talking about, Tamara's like, can I even say on the webinar, like, I want to hire people I like. Is that legal? Is that allowed? I'm like, yeah, that's legal, and because if you don't like someone, they don't probably like you. If people like you and you feel that, you probably like them.
So what you're saying is it doesn't matter about the amount of experience. There's a chemistry thing of making sure they're a great fit for your team and for you.
Exactly. If we're going to wake up every day and be in business together, we have to be in business with people that we like and we jive with. I think that's important. One of my biggest criteria for me personally is that they have to be in real estate full time. This career is just too hard to, do it kind of on the side and with our coaching and our training. For me, that's difficult. So I do want people that are in full time. But when it comes to the person, there is that connection that's important to me. The culture of my team is important. So I want to make sure that's a good fit. And then you said something of meet people where they're at. What I found in the beginning when I was running my team is I had a clear vision of where I wanted to be with my team's goals. And I was trying to fit everybody into that box. We'll get to this, get to this level. And everybody has different goals. And so, it's more about what is their goal, what is their motivation, and how can I help them achieve that? And that connection just means a lot to me. I have one gal that's on my team. She sat with me and I was the third agent that she had met with. And two teams before that she met with said, you've got 2 small kids and you want to, be at home with your kids. You'll probably never make it in this business. And I, of course, being a mother of 3, like the hair stood up all over my body. I'm like, wait, what?
How dare they?
How dare they, right? And she just has such a high motivation, and she's a brand new agent, and she hit her goals in the first 6 months out of the year. For her whole year's goal, she hit them in the first 6 months. So it really is more about where are they at with their goals? Does that feed the need of their family and what their goals are? And no matter if it's 12 deals a year or 50 deals a
Close
year.
them up.
I will meet
Yeah.
them where they need to be and I can help them get there. So that doesn't matter to me. It's the drive of wanting to achieve and wanting to hit their goals.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, Pam, like from just a really tactical standpoint, I have a couple rules that we do screen on. And one of them is the screening call. So our process is, so they come in and then Hannah, our EA, does the screening call. Now, this is an interesting thing because Ben Kinney, who is, our CEO and founder of Place and also incredibly successful real estate team owner and leader, he believes that the team owner should do the screening. And he and I disagree on this, which is not a shocker if anyone knows us, because I am going to bond with you come heck or high water. Like I am going to get on that phone and I am going to force my charm on, like I will bond with you.
You're a salesperson and you're going to sell them. Yes.
And Hannah, who hopefully is watching this, I hope she is, she's going to be a little cooler. It's going to be a little harder to bond with Hannah. I want her on the phone. And so I want her screening because she knows if they are just silent, when you're talking to someone and you're like, hello, are you there? And you're asking them questions and they're not, that's where she passes. If they're rude and kind of bitchy, which happens, it really does happen, that we pass. So they need to be able to do good phone. I'm sure they can be successful in real estate without doing good phone. I don't have the bandwidth for that. Not with my team. I draw the line at like, can you do decent phone? Then they come in for the first meeting, that's really about, are they going to represent the brand well? Are they, then we move into more of the culture and their willingness. I call it willingness, what is their willingness? Because we're really looking for people to fit into our models and systems.
Perfect. So I want to back up and switch to Tamara here in a minute, but just to take everyone on our journey, we talked a lot about where they get, what they had to do to prepare, where they get their leads. And then Vija just answered what her screening looks like. And the answer there is she has her EA set up the first screening appointment and do the first screening appointment. How about you, Tam? Again, you talked about your sources and your systems first, then your sources. Now we're to the point of screening these applicants. What does your screening process look like?
So I do the first screening process for everybody who is in real estate school or already licensed.
And do you set up those appointments, or do you have assistants to set up the appointment?
So I do have a VA.
Okay.
I do have a VA since last year. About 8 months ago, I hired a VA specifically to help me. Before that, it was me that set them up. It was
you. Okay.
But I do have a VA that sets them up now. So the review recruiter applicants or any source goes into our system and our VA communicates with them. If they are not licensed, automatically they go into the auto plan of giving them options about real estate and what that looks like and where they can get licensed. If they are in real estate school or they are already licensed, she will then set up an appointment for me to meet them. Our first meeting screening is always on Zoom. I used to do it over the phone, but I've just consolidated those first steps now. So it is over Zoom. And she sets them directly up on my calendar. So they just show up in my calendar blocks that I have and I show up for that meeting. So then the first one is about 95% is just me getting to know them. And I would say that's the biggest pivot probably in the last 12 months is I'm really confident about the values that we have and the coaching and the training and all the platforms that we have to help no matter whether they're new, whether they're seasoned, wherever they're at in their journey, I'm confident in that. So I really used to lead with this is who we are and where they fit into that. Now I lead with who are they and what are the things we have to help them achieve their goals. So the first call is 95% of it is just all about them. where do they come from? What are they doing? What are their goals? And I dig deep into that. If we move forward to the next step, then that next step would be an in-person, in person as much as I can do it. I do have one location that's 5 hours from there, so that one also goes to Zoom. But if it's local, it's in person for the second step.
I want to double click on what you said. There's a confidence that comes with knowing that you have the goods, and you both are humble and would never want to be unhumble. So I'll say it for you. When you know you have a recipe for success and a proven system, you know that they will be successful with you. So shifting it to, who is this person? What is their story? And is this a good fit? That piece, you're actually listening more than you're talking, because you know your systems that you apply when they join you is absolutely going to work if they're willing to do the work. So you take away that whole, I have this constant need to sell why we're better than other teams, and we do this and we do more and you get this. And, it's not competitive. It's more, I'm going to partner with this person. I need to know what makes them tick. And that's I'm double clicking on it because for those of you who are watching this, that is such a subtle but important difference on how Tamara and Via both approach their business, of knowing, Via talked about it as well, spending months on making sure you believed in your value proposition and it was proven, so that you're not taking someone and selling them a bag of goods that you can't deliver on, right? And so then it becomes about them. That's huge. So you talked about screenings, and you talked a little bit about kind of what that screening looks like. How many in-person meetings do you have, Tamara? Essentially, what do you cover in the actual meetings after that first Zoom? I want to kind of understand from that point to hire, what does the process look like?
So in-person meetings, when we're sitting down, it's a little bit combined with the first meeting of the questions that I asked. So I'm asking questions like, what are their goals? What do they need to make every month? Do they have a need? What is their want? So then the second meeting, I'm solidifying some of that. So you said you wanted to make $100,000. Let's talk about how you would get there in our world. And so I'll break that down for them. So they're very clear on what that looks like, what they need to do. I do at that point start integrating some of the tools that we have that could help them achieve what they're looking for. So that second meeting is a little more questions, a little more relationship building, but then kind of solidifying a lot of what we said in the beginning, of then me painting the picture for them, that they can see what they're looking for and the path of how to get there. That would be the second meeting. And then we kind of go over some of what our world looks like. We meet every day between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, and we practice scripts and role play. There's other things we do throughout the month and training. So they're very clear when they walk through the front door, what we look like, what our culture looks like, and how they can fit into it. That's that second meeting.
Well, and I like that you scare them, right? I mean, you can paint lollipops and roses, and then they show up and they're like, what? There's a daily stand-up, there's a huddle, I have to report my numbers, I have to make my calls, I have to go to prospecting day, I have to do open houses. Again, that front end versus back end filtering, it's not that you're trying to scare them, but again, this is part of their recipe for success. And you set some expectations on if they're part-time. The thing we're running into, a lot of agents that I'm talking to, some of these agents are just so broke that they have side hustles that are kind of getting in the way of just doing the work to just get that runway before they get the plane in the air. And those side hustles are standing in the way of them just being available to do the work, right? And so it's like, where are they financially? Do they have the reserves that it takes to do what they need to do for the first 90 days, right?
Sometimes that second meeting is that, like, I get really into that conversation with them of, tell me how much money you have in your bank account. What are your bills? Like, sometimes we break that down. If they have to have a side hustle, what does that look like to get out of that side hustle? If we have a plan to execute of that and they're willing to do it, that is an exception I would make. But we get really into the nitty gritty. If we're at that point, I know we've walked far enough down the path that we're going to be in partnership together. Now we need to figure out how to do that. I do want to say one thing about when we were talking about the initial part of the conversation about how I flipped it, where it's really about them.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I wanted to add to that I think I found is when people are looking for opportunity, they will mold themselves into that opportunity if you explain it, even if it might not be in their best interest. So when I find that I'm digging in the beginning about who they are and what their goals are and what are they wanting, and I was talking to Vija about this before, and I think Vija does that as well, is I've been in an interview process where I've stopped and said, what I'd love to do as we continue to move down this path is introduce you to Vija. I have another team right in a place team right in my office, Joe Platts. And I've literally stopped an appointment and said, hey, I think Joe's here. And I've explained who Joe is. Can I bring him into the room? Because I actually feel that person would have a higher chance of success being in business with Joe than with me, even though we run the same platform, right? So that's what I also wanted to say is sometimes when you lead with, this is who we are, people will try to put themselves into that.
They tell you the answer you want to hear because they're selling themselves in the interview, right?
I really truly want the best for people, and sometimes it's somebody else who might be a better fit for them.
Tam, Tam and I got in a really good conversation about this. This is so important. I just really want everybody to hear it because the old Vija, back in the first iteration of my team, was kind of selling the role. I was kind of being an influential recruiter, right? And a lot of us watching and listening to this get what I mean. Like, we're good at sales and we can convince somebody this is the biggest opportunity in the world. The new Vija, this iteration,
Vija 2.0.
Vija 2.0, maybe we're on like 5.0, I don't know, tries to scare them off. And I know it sounds crazy, but if I will often say, I really think Tam's team's better for you. Well, why? Because we've spent some time together and I think you really need that structure. And I think that you really need that. We're not going to show up like that because I know they're going to leave in the back door. I've had enough life experience and business experience to know that I don't want to go through that. I just don't want to bring people in to get that win and have them leave out the back door. And so now I still kind of rely more on a back end filter, but I just want everybody here to know that I have zero fear of loss during this process. Like
the win is the match for the client, not in this case, Vija's recruiting pipeline, because she can win and then they're going to fall out. And by the way, what they're both saying is one team isn't better than the other. All the teams have their own personality, culture, systems, and standards, and it's finding the match, right? If the person is open to, or you can tell that they're not structured and they need structured, and there's a team that in your market that's more structured than you are, that's going to be a better fit for them. And so that's the win, is coming from abundance and not just, okay, they're in my process, I got to close them. It's not.
Yeah. And that's where I start.
It's who you keep. Yeah.
When I'm talking to newer agents, my process, by the way, is super similar to Tam, so we can skip. But when we're in that meeting, one of the first things, once I get to know them, kind of get their background, is okay. Now I get caught up and I understand where they are in the solo agent versus team agent. That's the first thing I do. It's like the beginning of this conversation. Okay. So have you made up your mind or there's a bunch of different scripts I might use, but okay, catch me up to your exploration process. Now that we've gotten to know each other, are you leaning towards, have you thought about being a solo agent? Are you, where are you with teams? A lot of times people say they're still deciding. Sometimes they'll say, no, I've decided it's a team. Now it's just a matter of which one. Some people I'm the first one they've met with, so it can kind of vary, right? But I start there and I go, okay, well, let's talk that through. Once they know they want to be on a team, And then, I'm very similar to Tamara, which is cool to hear, Tam. Like, I didn't know that. Like, we would, it's kind of cool. Like, basically getting their base income needs, and then their kind of like life's cool need, and then they're like pie in the sky. I kind of like to get 3 numbers if I can, and then we can back out of those numbers and say, great, because on my team that's 10 homes a year, and we can sort of build a quasi business plan with them there in the recruiting session, so that they leave with an understanding of where that business could come from. I think it's really important that a prospect at that stage, in that juncture in the recruiting process, I think it's really important that they leave it, understanding, okay, that makes sense, because they just don't know what they don't know. And they don't know about your team. And so we're trying to remove sales skepticism, which is like these pie in the sky promises, and you're not getting specific enough. Does that make sense? You need to kind of walk them through, okay, that's 10 homes. Let's deep dive, and really get to the root of where we think those can come from with you, and where it comes from a typical agent.
That's awesome. So let's just a couple of other kind of lightning round questions here at the end. Advice to someone just sitting here thinking, I need a team, I don't know where to start. I would love to add a bunch of agents. You've told us exactly where to start, but what's like the number one thing they should do first? Kind of like, yeah, like you've given a lot of tips on systems and everything else, but like, if you were giving yourself advice a year ago, like what advice would you have to focus first?
I think the first thing that pops to my mind is get very clear on what you're looking for, where if you're bringing someone into your world, how can you help them achieve their goals? I think you need to be super clear on that. And then your standards, like we all have standards, whether they're loose standards or they're tight standards, we all have some sort of standard. So get clear on what that looks like. That would be the first thing. And then sit down and figure out, just like I did, a brainstorm of where am I going to focus my time. And then I broke down each one of those. What is the system behind each one? And then try to automate it as much as possible. Because we all have so many spinning plates, I'm still selling real estate. And we all have so many spinning plates. We need to be very clear and leveraged and have a system behind it. So
Yeah,
great recap.
It is a great recap. If you've never recruited before, I would just say, maybe the process of just start recruiting, just start meeting with people, and, watching our stuff, our interviews, watching Ben, watching Chris, just jump in and do it. I don't think you would need to worry too much about process if you've never recruited before. I actually think that a lot of agents I coach that are kind of moving from solo into team, I actually think getting your first 1 or 2 hires as experienced agents to start passing over some of your book of business to is great. And I think that, just getting that one agent you can mentor that, can kind of take over some of your book, and then now getting a second one in there, it can be a while before you even bring on new agents. And then over time, you can start bringing in new agents to work your database pond and whatnot, right? So, there's different ways to skin that cat, right? For me, Tamara and I said the same thing in different words. For me, though, I had to really understand what the value proposition was. Like, why would you come on Via Real Estate? How, what is my, what am I communicating, and are we square there? And that's exactly what Tam was saying.
And the other thing I'm just going to say, that when I started was a long time ago. So after Via, just, if I think back, my first hire was out of necessity, right? So my first hire was a showing specialist. So I would say also look at that. Why are you hiring? Are you hiring to grow a team? Right? So good. But are you hiring because you need leverage? So
or because everyone's doing it. Yeah. What is the actual?
What is the actual? So that was for me back in the day. It was I needed leverage, and so I hired a showing specialist, and that's what I was looking for. So I just wanted to say that the why. Why are you doing it?
That's good.
And what are you most excited about now in today's recruiting world, tools that you didn't have. It sounds like AI.
Oh
When
my
I hear
gosh.
you guys, when I hear Via talk about it, she just lights up, right? So the tool, like anyone
I've
who's
never
feeling
had it
like this is the
before. I mean, I've
boat.
been recruiting for so long and I've just never had this before.
Yeah. Yes. So it's a whole new can of worms in a great way. It's a whole new ball game, I should say. And so you didn't miss anything if you weren't doing it. The cool thing is the systems and the tools are so powerful now. They do a lot of the heavy lifting. And so just, don't have regrets for not getting started. Just get started now. Know your value proposition, know what you're looking for, and then lean into the systems. The other thing I want to just take the human element. These two wonderful ladies are great resources, as are so many people. Everybody is open book and wants to help, right? We do Power Playbooks for a reason. People like these guys don't get anything besides a Facebook post with their photo saying, like how grateful we are for them. And they're taking time out of their busy day to help us, especially I'm talking to you, Tamara, because Via, you have to do this with me. But my point is even comments we're seeing in the chat, like if you have questions, reach out to them. They will share. And we also, as the power of partnership, reach out to each other. Hey, I'm having problems with this script, or I have this scenario, or what would you do with this? That's what partnership's about. And so I want you to know that like times like these, we're just in it together, and you have to be willing to just be, humble, ask for help, admit where you're weak, make sure you're committed to talking to people that are doing things at a high level in areas that you want to get better at, and then put in the time. So with that, any last words, ladies, before we part? Any parting comments?
I think my one parting comment would be that I was a little nervous like relaunching the team, having had version 1.0 of the team, having this 2.0. And what I'm reminded about what's happening now is as my team has grown, my lead sources have naturally grown. Like the people are reaching out, they see the movement. I'm getting offered like all sorts of amazing lead opportunities that I didn't have when I kind of started this last November. So I'm not trying to say to go into this with blind faith. That would be stupid. Like have a strategy, like hope is not your strategy. But I will say that, don't be afraid to grow. That 10 to 15 leads a month per agent is plenty. And those can come from your pond. They can come from listings that you're bringing on for them doing open houses and stuff. If you have a good listing multiplier plan, for every listing you bring on a month, you can feed an agent that month just with leads from that. And so there's some math you can do to kind of understand how many agents you think you're capable of. So I would just say lean in and do it.
Yeah. And the numbers you're throwing out are not intimidating, right? You're not talking about thousands and hundreds, right? You're talking about numbers, 2 or 3 a month leads took you from 2 to 19, right? And so it's just, again, breaking it down and getting started. Tamara, any final words from you?
I know I've talked a lot about systems, but I will say that don't spend all your time building this perfect system before you get in relationship with people. I used to, in the beginning, I need to hire 1 or 2 agents, and I would then get in motion and hire and talk with 2 or 3 agents and hire 1 or 2 of them. Now I'm more focused on get in relationship with people, have conversations, and the right match will show up. I talked to 28 people last month and I hired 6. The right match will show up. And so I think it's more important to start to get comfortable with those conversations. The more conversations you have, the clearer you're going to be on what you're looking for, the clearer you're going to be on what you're not looking for, and the clearer you're going to be on how you can help people. So as much as I would say I love systems and they've really helped me kind of leverage and plan my day better. And don't let that get in your way. Get in front of people. That would be the last thing I would add.
Analysis paralysis is wonderful, but you got to just do it.
Yeah.
I love it. And with that wraps us up for this week. Thank you guys for being here on this Wednesday Power Playbook on recruiting. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Via. See, that was nice.
Thank you, birthday girl.
Happy
Yes,
birthday.
and thank you for the wishes.
birthday.
And we are back on the second Tuesday of August for our next Power Playbook, which is, I got to look at the calendar on the date.
Bill?
It's August 14th. Is that right?
I don't know.
We'll chime
Yeah.
in.
They're all signed up.
Yep.
We will
That's
see you
right.
guys. Be there or be square. Thank you again for sharing your Wednesday with us, and reach out to us if you have any questions. Have a great day.